Common sense isn't gone. It just needs a comeback. Common Sense Superheroes with David and Greg.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of Common Sense Superheroes. We're at episode number 52, and as always, Greg, let's get into the numbers we pick. I'll go first this time because I know you got a doozy to close it out. Not a flashy pick, but a really good, if you look at the numbers-wise, picks-wise, phenomenal. And I think there's a documentary on this guy that I need to watch because everybody keeps telling me it's just worthy, where he picks up, I think, grapefruits and throw it under the grapefruit tree or something like that. But CC Sabathia, boy, you talk about pitchers that you may not want to charge the mound on. He might be one of them. That's a big fella, hefty fella.
You know, and I will readily admit that it didn't quickly pop into my mind when I was thinking about the number 52 with old CC, but I was actually a CC fan, man. I like that game. That dude seemed to love playing baseball.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I remember a random fact about CC Sabathia, and prior to the show, you and I were just talking about how you get to a stage in life and you can't remember shit that you need to remember, but you can remember some random stuff that has absolutely zero value whatsoever.
Yep, that's my
And I can absolutely, with almost 100% certainty, tell you that I'm pretty confident CC Sabathia is, in fact, an avid lover of breakfast cereal. I remember so many stories on SportsCenter and stuff about him eating breakfast cereal for dinner. Like, he eats breakfast cereals all the time.
I'll say this. When you've had dinner, I don't know about for dinner, but once you've had dinner and you're like, I'm still a little hungry, and there's some Cocoa Pebbles in the house, and you have it as like a little dessert type snack deal after dinner, man, it hits different. It hits different at 9:15 at night than it does at 9:15 in the morning. And so I appreciate the love for breakfast cereals, but that Cocoa Pebbles hits different.
You are on to something A+ right there, my man. I'm gonna tell you right now, a good bowl of cereal is a massively underrated late night snack.
Absolutely, 100%. Speaking of not underrated, I know who you got as number 52. You want to tell us a little bit about who you got?
Well, he may or may not be a little bit of a criminal.
A murderer?
That's still debatable. Yeah, he might have been involved with a murder in Atlanta 20-something years ago, but he was unquestionably one of the greatest, if not the greatest linebacker to ever play. Ray Lewis, man, dude, as a Hurricane at Miami, and then for the Ravens, just relentlessly on defense for years in the NFL. That's a middle linebacker that you know, we talked about Singletary, we talked about Dick Butkus. That's a guy where you knew where he was on defense every snap because you wanted to make sure you accounted for that guy. And more often than not, if the ball carrier was going to the ground, you could bet number 52, Ray Lewis, was somewhere in the vicinity, if not a part of the tackle.
He's something else. You got to give him props. My man is a beast when it comes to that. Got a little played out, a little gimmick, not gimmick, because that's how he lives, but the whole dance thing, when you're not a big Ravens fan, you're like, okay, let's get it moving. Him and Shannon Sharp together can be a little too much, but you can't deny that duo, that team that they had in Baltimore was quite talented, to say the least. Like we've said a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Ed Reed, having Ed Reed and Ray Lewis. You're talking about you could put down as possibly two of the best linebacker and safeties of all time. So you got two all-time greats in that same defensive backfield. That's scary.
And you and I talked about, you know, the 85 Bears defense and how good that was. And you tell like that Ravens defense, when you had Tony Siragusa plug in the middle, you had Terrell Suggs on the outside bringing the heat, Ray Lewis patrolling the middle at linebacker, and Ed Reed in the backfield. Good luck.
Come on, man. And you had an aging but still, you know, really great player in Rod Woodson, I believe, at corner. I think Dion came in a little after that, but he was already past his prime for sure. But I think Rod Woodson was very serviceable on that defense at that time. So, man, you talking about some studs back there. Even though a little age was on him, still, Rod Woodson was trouble.
No disrespect intended, brother, but if you could put a Super Bowl ring on Trent Dilfer's hands, that's a hell of a defense.
It's a hell of a defense. 1,000%. That is a great point. Well, Greg, before we get into this, there's a main story we want to get to, and that is, we'll go ahead and knock it out. It's not a sad day, because I like to think of it as appreciation for what my man accomplished, but Nick Chubb finally, I say finally because of all the injuries, but Nick Chubb retired from the NFL. the definition of damn good dog, Greg.
He absolutely was, and that was a generation that looking back on, and again, it hadn't been that long removed. It wasn't that far back, but I'm telling you, as a diehard Georgia fan, even I look back and go, man, that stretch of, Gurley and Gurley and Marshall, and then Chubb and Michelle and then Swift. I mean, it was just ridiculous the talent we had coming through.
Baby.
And I'm gonna tell you, of all of those guys, Nick Chubb may have been the least heralded, least kind of phenomenal recruit, least big time splash guy when they picked him up. In fact, he was not even like Sony Michel in the same recruiting class, was a much higher rated prospect, a much more exciting, like people were geeked about what Sony was going to do. Sony was great too. But from the very early word out of Athens in practice, everybody just kept saying, you know what? He don't say much, but this kid's just different. He just puts his head down, goes about work, and nothing tickled me more than seeing Nick Chubb stroll into the end zone and just go find the nearest official and hand him the ball and go back to the sideline like you're supposed to. Like, I've done it before. I'll do it again. Here's the ball, sir.
He was
fine human being, and again, I'm partial. I'm a UGA grad. We talked about David Pollock on here a few times. Nick Chubb belongs in that conversation with David Pollock as not just one of the greatest dogs of all time, but in my opinion, one of the greatest human beings to ever come through that school and play and put on that jersey.
There's a lot of what ifs, like what if Bo Jackson wouldn't have got hurt? What if Gale Sayers wouldn't have tore his ACL at a time when they couldn't even recover from ACLs? A lot of injury what ifs, and even though he was able to have some success, the what if with Nick Chubb is spectacular, because what if he had never got injured? Let's just run down a little bit of his career stats. We'll go college first. 5,130 yards from scrimmage and 48 total touchdowns. 3 1,000-yard rushing seasons, 24 career 100 rushing yard games, and 3 200-yard games.
And that was splitting carries with Sony Michel throughout the whole time.
Think about that. And this one will jump out. Anytime your name is right behind this fella, you seem to want to take notice. Second in Georgia history with 4,769 rushing yards, behind only, I don't know, Herschel Walker. Does that name ring a bell to Georgia fans? Returned from major knee injury in 2015 to rush for over 2,400 yards over his final 2 seasons. Take away that knee injury, I don't know if Herschel's name's at the top of that list. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. And now, granted, Herschel left early because he got suckered into signing a contract to go to USFL. But that's for another show. But wow, the numbers. 6.3 yards a carry. Only Herschel Walker and him are the Bulldogs at the time with 3 different 1,000-yard rushing seasons. And that's just in his college.
Nick Chubb made it through 4 years in Athens and never got arrested.
That should be, you know what? Let me find that.
Or at least it wasn't reported.
It wasn't reported. Somebody hit it well. But I don't think he did, because like you said, I've heard nothing but good things out of this guy, and multiple knee injuries, just devastating knee injuries, but still was able to have a fine career. He had over 7,300 rushing yards, averaging 5 rushes a carry, 54 touchdowns. In 2022, he had 1,525 yards and 13 total touchdowns. And much like I said, Cleveland doesn't have, they have a long history, but you got bunch of studs. But there's one guy named Jim Brown up there that's pretty well known. And if you look in the third place spot of Cleveland Brown history of rushing yards, you'll see one Nick Chubb with 6,843 rushing yards for Cleveland. So, and second in Brown's history with 30 games of at least 100 rushing yards. So when you talk about damn good dogs, you talking about studs, you talking about grit to come back from injuries like that. As a guy who's obviously older, but have tore my Achilles, and the thought of going out there and turning and cutting and running would terrify me. And this guy did that and just strapped up, about 1,000 pounds on his back when he was out there squatting. Known for being one of the strongest dogs ever.
Well, and again, to take it beyond the football field, you dropped the famous Charles Barkley quote from 35, 40 years ago. We're athletes, we're not role models. Nick Chubb's a role model. I don't care if he wasn't supposed to be. I don't care if he wasn't trying to be. By God, Nick Chubb is a role model. If you can be more like Nick Chubb, or if you can raise your kids to be more like Nick Chubb, do it.
If you didn't think that, just go take a look at the people that are leaving whole paragraphs and things of what he's meant to them and how good a guy he was and the accomplishments, but more or less the man that Nick Chubb was. He's getting all kind of love, and it is much deserved. And I don't know what else to say. You can't say enough about him. And I'm with you. Of Georgia running backs, obviously I go Herschel. Gurley was special. But there's a soft spot for Chubb. I don't know if it's the injuries and seeing him overcome it, but I have a soft spot for Chubb. I think I might have to put him second behind Herschel for me.
I think the thing with Chubb is it's just darn near impossible to watch him and not appreciate his game and appreciate how he goes about. Look, I think in a lot of ways his attitude and his effort and his demeanor overshadowed the fact that dude's ridiculously talented and gifted athletically. But people always just want to talk about how hard he works, how nice he is, and how quiet. No, he was ridiculous. He's a freak athlete. The dude he's special. He's gifted. I may be in the minority. I think on the proverbial Mount Rushmore of Georgia running backs, if I was to pick one and go, hey, look, give me 4 years of this guy healthy, I think Todd Gurley was the most talented of any of them.
He was.
Todd Gurley was just ridiculous. Todd Gurley was Herschel Walker, but 30 years down the road where everybody was big and fast. Herschel was just so far ahead of his time, but Nick Chubb was he was that guy. Everybody in the locker room knew they could count on him. He's got your back. And again, you and I grew up playing a lot of sports at a decently high level. Nick Chubb's the kind of guy everybody on the planet would want him on their team.
Can't argue that. Yeah, Gurley was something else. Was it Gurley and Marshall there was around the same time? And there was which one of them got hurt on a kickoff return? Was it Marshall?
Gurley. No,
Gurley, yeah,
it was Todd Gurley returning the kickoff, and Malcolm Mitchell tore his ACL on the celebration. And then Gurley coming back from the ACL, his very first play was the kickoff return for a touchdown against Clemson. Nice. His very first time touching the ball after his ACL, he took it 100 yards to the house.
You want to talk all-time teams? You put together a Georgia all-time team. I don't know. That's obviously they're up there now, but boy, they've had some talent. You got USC that's had some just flashy studs, but overall, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, Notre Dame, obviously. Miami.
I'll say this. If you let me go back and if you let me pick my team of any Georgia player to ever play on a roster, there ain't another college football team that I'd be scared to play. I might not win all of them, but I wouldn't be scared of nobody if I can pick the best players to ever walk through Athens.
I mean, maybe we lack a little bit. I can't think of a big name receiver outside of a tight end or whatnot.
You give me A.J. Green, Terrence Edwards, George Pickens.
Yes, A.J. Green is definitely one of those guys.
Hines Ward, Andre Hastings. Well, come on, brother. You just ain't going back far enough.
You're right. But listen, Hines Ward for sure. A.J. Green for sure as well. But I feel like A.J. didn't live up to his hype when he was in Georgia. But that's just me.
Give me Hines Ward, A.J. Green, and George Pickens on the field at the same time, and I got no problems at receiver.
But I think you're looking at some of their NFL when they did what they did in NFL while they were in college. I didn't think they were that dominant as much as they should have been. They didn't have the quarterback. Oh, who had Stafford? That was A.J. Green, wasn't it?
Stafford was with A.J. for a little while.
Yeah. So, like I said, Stafford's obviously the guy. That's your quarterback.
I don't know.
What? Oh, another show. We won't get too far into it, but save that for beliefs, ballots, and Bulldogs. Go check that out.
That might actually be, I might actually take that and run with that sometime this week. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with some of the preseason shows. I may say, if you could take one all-time UGA quarterback to play in college. Now, in the NFL, it's obviously Stafford.
Yes.
But for their college career, I don't know that Stafford would be the guy I pick.
You're taking David Green? Maybe. Did Hines play a little quarterback?
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure that if I wasn't trying to build out my most potent team, DJ Shockley's senior year was damn near unstoppable. Now, he sat behind David Green for 4 years, and when he came in, he didn't always look great. But his senior year, that dude was out of this world offensive. Like he was a problem to stop.
You know who had a better NFL career than probably should have? Quincy Carter had a pretty decent NFL career thanks to Jerry Jones, who, if you listen to everybody, is a racist person, but had one of the only black quarterbacks back in the day taking over his team. So
I think they were able to embrace and embody Quincy's difficulties. And like, I don't think he had as many drug tests in Dallas as he did to worry about Athens.
Most likely not. But that's a damn good one. We need to put together, think about a all-time team who we would take, and that's a good one. You run with that, Greg.
Y'all give me some advice. Anybody that's listening to this, help me, give me some advice. Who should my list be if I'm going to do it on Beliefs, Ballots, and Bulldogs? If I'm going to throw out 4 or 5 of Georgia's all-time quarterbacks, who do y'all want to be picking from?
Quarterbacks that's a rough
Stafford, one. Green, Shockley, Stetson, Aaron Murray. I mean, who you want?
Murray has all the stats.
We forgot about Fran Tarkenton. Fran Tarkenton's probably the greatest quarterback ever played at Georgia.
Yeah,
we completely forgot about him.
We can't go that far back. Like, that's too far. I mean, we're not going to be picking Ray Goff as our punter, and that's a little much. But Aaron Murray, I believe, has all the damn stats. I feel like every time I turned around, he was breaking a stat.
He played for 4 complete years, so that helps because most quarterbacks don't get to. He got to start as a freshman, so he got 4 years of stats, which is rare in the quarterback position. And contrary to popular belief, Mike Bobo is actually a pretty decent offensive coordinator, and we averaged about 40 points a game during Aaron Murray's tenure. So we were scoring a lot. He was moving the ball around.
Boy, he gets some hate. Bobo will get some hate, son. I will say last year, the year before, I got tired of these damn little screen passes that work 1 out of every 15 times. Let's air the damn ball out.
I will say this, and again, if you look back over our track record for the last 7 or 8 years when we've had a pretty good amount of success, the off chance we have lost a football game, it's rarely been 17-13 because we couldn't score. It's been against Alabama when we couldn't stop them, or when Trinidad Chambliss turned into Superman and we couldn't stop Ole Miss. It's rarely been a defensive rock fight that we come out on the short end of the stick of. Usually, we keep up. Like, if we lose a game, it's usually 45-42, and we just don't get the ball back one last time to score. Again, I know it's a hot button issue. I did a whole episode about it. If we don't reach expectations as a Georgia team this year, I just don't think it's Bobo's fault. I know everybody else in the Dog Nation will point to Bobo. I don't think it's Bobo's fault.
I don't know. Speaking of which, we're gonna have college football this weekend, are we not?
We are. No good college football, but we're gonna have something.
We're gonna have it, but it's gonna be something on TV. But to suffice my craving for college football was high school football over the weekend. We won't talk about Upson Lee. They got whooped by Lamar County. We won't talk about Cherokee Bluff. They got beat. Fire Branch, local team, they got beat. But Jackson County, friend of the show, David Hendrick, his team won 34-22, but was not really that close. It was they never had a chance. Jackson County showed out. And Tyler Carlton's friend of the show, Lowndes County team, oof, boy, they got a squad. We're gonna be hearing about old Lowndes County for a little bit. And one Jace Johnson, who's that Texas A&M crew they won 31-6 over Jenkins, which I think is a little team out of Savannah area, whatever. But
I got a feeling that most of our listeners probably already know this fact, but if you don't, and if by some chance you're tuning into this godforsaken show from somewhere else in the world, they play real football at high school in South Georgia.
Yeah, they do. Lowndes County's rough. They're going to have a squad. Every time I hear somebody talk about it, they're like, hey, Lowndes County might be it. So Tyler might have found himself in a good old situation down there. He's going to take all the credit, which he should. He's offensive coordinator. Hey, you score 31, you got to have something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Although it makes it easy when your boy's a talent back at quarterback. But speaking of big boy football, that leads us to the Buford Wolves versus Gainesville Red Elephants, the national televised game on ESPN2 that took place Saturday at 5 p.m. I was able to watch at least up until halftime because I had to go out to eat. But, man, let me tell you, a lot of people. We had to go by there to get to the restaurant. Everybody and their grandma wanted to go. It was jam-packed house.
And from what I recall, I think Buford put on a pretty good performance. And unless I'm overlooking something, I think I saw a blurb come across my X feed that says Buford also just acquired the number 1 defensive tackle prospect in the nation.
I saw
because
that.
Georgia has a high school NIL option that he can cash in on, and wherever he's from doesn't. So Buford's only going to get better. And we talk about it. They play real football down in South Georgia, and our boy TC in Lowndes County can attest to that. They don't do it like Buford does as far as recruiting nationally and paying big. They just play good, old school, hard-nosed football. But man, them Buford Wolves, that ain't no joke.
That is another Texas A&M recruit, I believe, and they're hoping they can flip him to old Georgia. But I saw somebody else say that apparently Coach Applin and Kirby don't have the best relationships, so they don't get a lot of Georgia boys out there.
There's some sort of history with Buford and Georgia, because Buford has had way too much talent come through there in the last decade to not have very many of them come to Georgia.
No.
We got KJ Bolden a couple of years ago because we went out and basically just said whatever Florida State's offering you, we'll match it, because he wanted to come to Georgia. But no, Buford's been tough for us, man, and it's a shame because they're right in our backyard and they always have great athletes, but they have not had a propensity for sending kids to Athens.
Yeah, it's kind of. I wish we would have got Caleb Downs. He was at Mill Creek, but still, that would have been a hell of a pick. That would have been obviously good because
we whipped on him twice, man. That's a sore subject.
Yeah, that's rough. But you know what? I was able to watch till halftime, and Gainesville actually had their running back, who's Mr. Stud. He was actually hurt, injured, and the first half, Gainesville looked good. Gainesville lost that game. I don't think Buford won that game as much as Gainesville lost it. Gainesville had so many opportunities. They'd have a turnover at their exact wrong spot, little things like that. But they were actually winning at halftime. Buford did go on to win 39-19. They won that. They extend their winning streak to 16 games as the defending national champions. But Gainesville did commit 5 turnovers, and 2 of them were punt snaps that Buford recovered for touchdowns. You can't have that.
And I think obviously the high school level, I think the further away you get from the pro level and kind of the younger kids you're dealing with, the more I think, momentum and stuff like that can kind of play into it, and where, a couple of unfortunate errors can really just have a game that could be competitive get completely out of hand because, frankly, at that age, I mean, when you're 15, 16, 17 years old, you just don't really know how to deal with adversity. You don't know how to, catch your breath and slow down in a difficult situation, figure out how to maneuver things. So sometimes, like you said, a couple of turnovers, and it just what looked like a competitive match early on just got out of control.
I was actually at a birthday party with my youngest boy, his old travel team. We went and had a birthday party. We were just talking. Obviously, everybody was talking about the game because it's a big deal, and a lot of these folks go to Buford. And I was talking about one of the coaches that coached for Buford, and I was like, "Yeah, I saw their coaching list, and it's like 2 or 3 Instagram screens of just so many coaches." And he's like, "Yeah, this one guy we're referring to, LaMontagne or something. I guess he was a long snapper or snapper for in college and whatnot." And he was like, "I'll go out there and kind of help out." And then that turned into a position. So he's basically just the long snapper coach for the most part. And I was like, that's ridiculous to have a coach just for long snap and all that.
In high school. Yeah.
Well, how about it turned out pretty big? Gainesville probably would have liked to have that because 14 of those points were from bobbled snaps on the long snap that messed up. So the little things, you got to give Buford credit. They found a way to make it happen, and they did make the plays when they needed it. And the little things like that is why they've been so successful.
Well, David, I never was much of a football player, and so therefore I never had to deal with much football coaching. But one of the key attributes for the football game that I'm well aware of and have heard several coaches mention is there's 3 aspects of the game, right? Isn't it offense, defense, and special teams?
Yep. You got to work on that special teams part. It's a big deal. It matters, and they made it happen. But Gainesville was coming out, popping some folks, making some plays. I mean, Buford only had 33 yards at halftime. I mean, you would think with 33 yards, and I think I think Gainesville was up by 3 points at halftime after only allowing 33 yards. I mean, they had every opportunity to really put on a show and put that game out of hand and make a stance, make it known like, hey, Gainesville's here to play. Let's don't get it twisted. Gainesville does some recruiting too. They got the right chain. Any city school is going to be able to get some boys in, not, Buford's level, but that was their chance. They should have did it, but would they get their running back? I expect Gainesville to do something this year. I expect.
Yeah, you'll hear from them later on, I'm sure.
There's going to be more to it. Buford, I'm pretty sure they're disappointed in that performance. I got a feeling they're going to be doing a little bit of running this weekend. I didn't see what happened in the second half to get them that many points in the second half, but I think it was like just turnovers and whatnot. I don't think they really had that much of an offense. Had a couple deep balls that they threw that just went through the hands, a couple big penalties that brought them back, but they showed they could air it out. But Gainesville's defense looked tough, but it was a big game. Like I said, we rode by it, and boy, it was almost like you were riding through a college town because so many parking spots were taken. Everywhere you looked, there was parking, had buses going in. Brian Kemp was there. Rick Jackson was there trying to get everybody to vote for him. He had his big old bus out there. So the governor and hopefully soon to be governor was out there. There was rumors that Lil Wayne was going to come. I didn't see anything about that. I wouldn't have been surprised, but he didn't make it as far as I know. But it was a big deal. It was fun watching it, seeing everybody posting like, hey, we're watching the game in California and all that. So pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's
good
crazy.
Game, but
it's crazy how high school football has become such a national thing, man. It kind of makes you jealous. Like I kind of wish we had some of that back in the day when you and I were growing up, but I don't think we could have handled any sort of fame at that age like these kids do.
No, but it was a big game. It was a good one. Greg, I talked about him, and I said I was going to try to find a new team because I just can't stand watching this team anymore. It gets on my nerves. But at the same time, the Atlanta Falcons, preseason, I get it's preseason, put it on the Indianapolis Colts, my friend, 34-6. I'm going to go out on a limb and say over under 32 seconds you watch the Falcons and Colts game.
Have not even seen a highlight from the game. And as such, and I will admit at times in my past, I may have even thrown a wager on a preseason NFL game.
That's when
only
you
to watch that money likely go up in smoke and realize if they don't give a shit about these games, why should I? David, come on, dude. Please don't celebrate a preseason win. Don't be that guy.
Try not to.
Don't be that guy.
I got to. I may not get a damn regular season win. Tua, I didn't even see what Tua did. The backup quarterbacks, Cooper Rush and Jack Strand, completed 14 of their first 15 passes for 137 yards and a touchdown. Good grief. That's a hell of a showing by the old backups.
And now we got a four-way quarterback controversy?
We may have it, but many of the starters didn't play. Bijan, A.J. Terrell, all of them didn't play, obviously. Michael Penix was cleared to play again, Greg, and to get contact. He was actually cleared to able to have contact. In a sport that's known for contact, that's probably a big deal.
Yeah, and are you going to place the wager on will it be the second or third contact that he receives that ends his season?
Well, it's going to be an early one. I assure you that. It's probably going to be the case. There's some rumblings. It could just be, you never know on Twitter or X because you'll see somebody throw something up there and you're like, okay, this is ridiculous. But sometimes they might have a little inside info. And I saw more than one tweet about possibly trying to get Stetson Bennett.
I'll make you a deal. If the Falcons acquire Stetson, I will become a Falcons fan for as long as they keep him on the roster.
He looked good in this preseason game. A little bit of what? Again, preseason. I get it. Hopefully he's got his issues under control. But gritty, knows how to win.
Let me pivot on this. Stetson's to me, is a perfect microcosm of what my show today was about. And it's, once we form an opinion, we just can't conceive of the idea that we might have been wrong on that opinion. I think the whole Stetson Bennett ordeal is the fact that so many of us just thought he wasn't going to be any good that we cannot let ourselves come to grips with the fact that dude's just a good quarterback. I know he looks funny. He looks small. He doesn't look like an NFL quarterback. Dude can move. He can make all the throws. I watched it. And I was praying for JT Daniels to be the starter. I never wanted Stetson to be the guy. He got 2 rings on his finger for a reason. I'm sorry, world. He was a 2-star recruit out of Blackshear, Georgia. Yes, he showed up to Athens with a freaking postal service hat on, and that's how he got the nickname of the mailman. He earned an offer. He walked on. He left. He came back. He earned a job, won 2 rings. They can't cut him from an NFL roster because he's just too good to get cut. Falcons, pick him up. Here's your move. Look, Georgia fans have wanted to pull for the Falcons, but you have almost made it a mission to not let Georgia guys be on the roster. You finally got one, and then you went out and made him tear his ACL. It's got to be the Falcons' fault. I'm blaming them completely. Bring home Stetson. You will sell more season tickets. You will get more life infused into that fan base. He doesn't even have to start. Doesn't have to play. Put Stetson on that roster as the backup, the practice squad, the number 3 quarterback, and you'll bring home at least one Falcons fan.
We got the aforementioned Todd Gurley. Granted, it was later in his career, but we did get them. So another dog coming. And on that same note, I never understood why Jacksonville Jaguars didn't just go, hey, we're just trying to sell tickets. Let's just get Tim Tebow. Let's just sell this place out. You think they wouldn't sell that out in Jacksonville? Come on, man. That was one of those odd decisions. I don't think they had any quarterback worth their salt back then. I was like, what do you got to lose?
I think sometimes people just are. We've been taught in our society that the simple answer and the simple solution can't be right. And so I think people just have to overcomplicate things. And there are times in life, and again, the name of the show is Common Sense Superheroes. Some things in life really are simple common sense. And if you just go with what makes sense and what seems obvious, it'll work. But no, people overthink and overcomplicate everything. And you're 100% right. The Jacksonville Jaguars could have sold out every season ticket for a decade if they had Tim Tebow on the roster.
I don't get it. I don't understand it. I mean, I'm not a businessman, but I know money somewhat. I know how not to make money, and it's usually what I want to do. But then in this case, I feel like I can make money by putting Tim Tebow out there in Jacksonville. But I know this. I feel like Michael Penix Jr. and Tua Tagovailoa are not going to be the only quarterbacks we see on the field this year for the Falcons. It'd be nice if that was Stetson, but it's going to be somebody else.
I wonder if Kalshi has odds on that.
I need to check it out. I think I got a few bucks left on
right. I bet you see at least 3, maybe 4 QBs for Atlanta this year.
We're not just seeing those 2. I assure you that.
Them 2 left-handers ain't going to stay healthy.
First off, just on my health standard, they're not going to make it. I mean, it's not happening. But I think on a play-wise, there's not going to happen either because both of them are going to be scared to try to move around in the box. And I don't know if you've watched Falcons games recently. You're going to have to move a little bit. You can't stand back in the pocket no more.
Man, and I don't mean this derogatory, but I mean, freaking Tua has to dodge raindrops because a big raindrop will give them a concussion these days.
And I hate that.
The raindrop hit him in the head at the end of the story for you. Look, and Penix just can't move like he's done. Like it doesn't look good, brother. It's not a good situation for the Falcons.
I don't like the Penix. You don't want to see Penix get hurt because of knees and all that. But at the same token, Tua, that will affect his life forever if he gets hurt again with his brain. I mean, the brain, that ACLs you can repair, knees you can put back together. You might have a little limp, but brains, they don't rebuild those, bro. We ain't got that yet. We ain't got Neuralink up and going yet. So hopefully Elon can get that working for if Tua does take another big hit. But I just don't want to root for the Falcons. I'm going to root for the Falcons. I love the Falcons. I love to hate them. But I don't like watching games in domes. I can't stand domes at all. The lighting looks weird. Something about it just ain't right. Football should be played outside. I don't want to go to a concert in a huge dome where I can barely hear it or it sounds awkward. I'm not a dome fan at all.
I'm glad I'm not the only grumpy old man on this show.
I am. You can tell by my gray hair, I'm an old ass grumpy man. And sometimes I like to feel grumpy. And today's the day.
Wasn't the whole thing about doesn't the Benz have a retractable roof? I've never seen the sumbitch open. Doesn't it have isn't that an option?
It has a retractable roof, but even when it's opened up, the way that it which is great for the fans, because I guess even if it's raining, first off they can close it up. But if it starts raining, the covered part kind of goes over all the stands and everything. It's a beautiful stadium. It looks fantastic. Everything about it's cool, but it's almost like a Dallas Cowboys old stadium where it's just kind of in the middle that it's opened up and you can see. But it's never the lighting always looks wrong. So they'll have it open and you can't even tell. It looks just as dark and dingy to me. Not dingy, but I'm just not a fan.
No, I mean, you're right. Football's meant to be played outside.
I'm taking offers for a new team. I like I said, been watching Hard Knocks, looking at Seattle possibly. The Bills, love the Bills. Loved Josh Allen. Wow.
Yeah.
You talking about somebody that loves their team.
And Josh Allen's one of those, and I watched him a little bit at Wyoming. Like I've kind of been on the Josh Allen train, even from college.
The fact that he went to Wyoming makes you like him even more.
Just fun to watch.
He's a cowboy,
the Bills, and I mean, I like James Cook. I mean, obviously as a dog, seeing him have success up there has been cool the last couple of years. The Bills are an easy team to root for, I feel like. I've always kind of, for whatever reason, been kind of a closet 49ers fan. I've always liked San Francisco. And I'm a fan of Brock Purdy. I like the way he plays. Doesn't get a lot of recognition.
Baby. Yeah. Staying healthy.
It's fun to see a white dude that can move like C-Mac can, man. There ain't a whole lot of us that can move like that dude does.
Kittle just got cleared back to play, so he's back on the able to play list, I believe.
And, mentioning the 49ers, and since it's episode 52, we were talking before, Patrick Willis wore that 52 in San Francisco for a while, and Patrick Willis gets forgotten. But if he's not in the Hall of Fame, he will do. But Patrick Willis may have been the best linebacker in the NFL for a good 5 or 6 year stretch.
Yeah, he did.
That dude was an animal.
He filled out the old arm sleeves. Dude had some pipes on him.
And as much as I don't know where it comes, I have kind of, over the last couple of years, man, I'm still sort of cheering for the Houston Texans.
Well, it's because C.J. Stroud's such a good guy.
Yeah, like I didn't like him when he was going against us. That he had the game of his life against us when he was at Ohio State, and then they missed that field goal at midnight on New Year's Eve.
He can't script that. You can't script that.
I'm telling you, David, that is one of those. It was me and Haley, Brian and Kelly Nobles in our cabin in Blue Ridge watching. We just got home from dinner on New Year's Eve. I'll make it. We went out to a fancy dinner. Everybody's panicking because we weren't sure we were going to get back home to the cabin for kickoff because it was New Year's Eve. Everywhere was packed. And our reservation was like an hour and a half behind the time we scheduled it. We literally, at the nicest restaurant in Blue Ridge, we all sat down and ordered our food. And everybody at the table, unbeknownst to me, goes, "Hey, we'll just go ahead and get it to go." So they all ordered their food to go. As soon as it was ordered, we sat and got up and left. They made sure I got home and didn't miss a snap of that game. Dude, that was such a game. I mean, we could not stop C.J. Stroud. He was unreal. The hit on Marvin Harrison by Javon Bullard, knocking him out. And then that kick, man, I'm telling you, everything in me, I had zero hope. And I rarely give up. Like, I mean, that dude's damn near a professional kicker. It wasn't like 40s. I mean, he's going to make that kick. And the moment it came off his foot, it looked like one of my tee shots because it went straight left. And I'm sitting there like, it was one of those few moments in life that I can honestly admit, I think it took me a couple of minutes to process what I'd just seen. Because in no way had I expected that as an even plausible scenario when he lined up for that kick. And I sat there and I looked around the room and everybody's cheering and everybody around me's looking at me like I should be celebrating. But I think it took a couple of minutes to figure out what I'd just seen. And then I started celebrating like crazy.
It was something else. It's funny. I just got a breaking news thing update from Fox News. You were talking about 49ers fan. How's this headline? 49ers owner Jed York arrested for engaging in prostitution in Ohio. Pleads no contest to lesser charges. Damn it, Sam. Come on, Jed. Man, you're having a good time out there in Ohio. If you're going to put a list of prostitutes to get, Ohio's not up there too high.
Well, we hadn't said anything overly controversial, so I'll throw one out there for you, David. Right, I got an opinion on this.
Okay.
I'm not saying I support it morally or ethically, but I do think prostitution should be legal.
If two grown adults can come to a conclusion, of course it should be.
Look, sex, and it should not be a transactional thing, but in the world we live in with everything else that's okay and allowed, if two grown people can come to some sort of financial or favor, like transaction, hey, I'll give you this, I see no problem with it.
You can sit there and say, I've never paid for it. That's ridiculous. I'm like, yes, you have. One way or the other, you've paid for it, my friend.
I pay for it willingly. I am a lucky man, and I am glad to pay what I have to pay to have my lovely wife.
You're going out to eat, you paying for dinner, you're doing all. You've paid for it one way or the other. This just cuts out the middleman. So I'm with you. I think it should be it should be legal to at an age group. If you can go out and buy weed and drink like crazy and do all that, might as well shoot. Hell, make it where it's a safe situation. I don't want no red light district type places where they out there advertising it. But
no, and I do think, and touching on a kind of a similar topic, it's kind of like the gambling thing. I've always been a proponent. I don't think gambling is a problem for most people. I think places like Vegas and Atlantic City and Biloxi and all this, hey, look, Indian casinos, those should be fine. You should be able to go play if you're an adult, you should do whatever you want with your money. Now, it has spread so much and it's become so easy to access online and all that. Same with prostitution. I would rather prostitution be legal and done cleanly in a handful of places throughout the nation than to have OnlyFans and all the online smut and porn that people can access all the time. Because I think that's way more unhealthy than two grown adults making a financial transaction.
I wouldn't be surprised though if some of these folks that are into that stuff don't want it to be legalized. They want the raunchiness of it, the naughtiness of it, like the seediness of it. I mean, that's how weird people are. People freaky, dog.
Yeah, I mean,
you're like, you legal, like, I don't want it now. Not to say.
I mean,
they want to go roll up and throw some money out and then get an offer and then go behind somewhere. They want that.
Yeah, you're not wrong. There is something sick in all of us that doing something a little bit wrong kind of feels good.
Yeah. I tried to get Brooke to do something a little wrong last night. She did not.
But she's a good girl. Don't talk like that.
Listen, it's been a long time. She's mean, Greg. Mean, very mean.
That woman ain't never said a mean word in her life.
That gets us to the big event of the weekend, Greg. This is the biggest game of the weekend by far. Brewers and Braves had a series that was good. Ended up Braves finally got a win on Sunday at the Little League Classic. But that pales in comparison. Buford Gainesville, get out of here. Upson Lee, Lamar County, get out of here. All these big games, get out of here, because there was one game this weekend that was must-see TV, had to be watched, and that was my beloved Indiana Fever taking on the Chicago Sky, Greg. I know you tuned in. I know you were glued to the TV at 7 o'clock on NBC or Peacock watching the game, Greg. What did you think of the game? Give us a breakdown, because like I said, I know you watched it.
Okay, so I'm going to say two things that seem counter oppositional to each other, but they're both true, I promise. I don't think there are many people who are bigger Sophie Cunningham fans than I am. Okay? Now,
Yes.
I think that is a factual statement. Also a factual statement. I have never seen Sophie Cunningham in a live minute of action on a basketball court ever in my life.
You hypocrite, you. But she'll probably take the fandom either way.
Now, because ESPN has taken it upon themselves to force the NBA down my throat, I can't get away from it entirely, but I can say I've still yet to see an actual live minute of WNBA action. And man, what are you doing? Why are you watching this crap? Why are you backlit?
It's entertaining, Greg.
I'm not entirely sure now, and it didn't click. Like, it clicked for me the moment where I realized they've got you now and you're watching the WNBA. I think all the controversy might be part of the business strategy.
Smart. If they did it on purpose,
like they have screwed up and found a way to lose money for 25 consecutive years. Maybe they finally figured something out and go, hey, look, we got two players, only two out of an entire league that people really give a shit about. Maybe if we just make them the villains, people will tune in to just to support them.
It worked. They threw whatever they threw at it.
Sucker.
I've yet to find myself watching anybody for an extended period of time other than the Indiana Fever being involved. And as much as I love Sophie Cunningham, make no mistake, she is A1 material. She's fun to watch. I enjoy watching her. She don't even start. Caitlin Clark is special, but Kelsey Mitchell also special. That girl can ball, son. Her and Caitlin were pulling up everywhere, just dropping 3 after 3. And the main thing that made this game interesting, I don't know if you recall a few weeks ago, Dejanay Carrington, you got to really thank her, because she's the one that's got us wanting to watch because of her craziness and her being just a dirty player. Greg and I are huge WNBA fans. She did a flagrant foul, whatever. She complained and called it white privilege because she got thrown out, even though everybody gets thrown out that does a play like that, but whatever. Then she also tweeted, was it 8:23, like asterisks, like get ready, like hyping up this game because that's when they were going to play again in Chicago. And Dejanay came to play, son. She only scored 7 points. All right. Well, she got about a rebound. Oh, she only got 3 rebounds. Oh, well, she got a bunch of 1 assist. If you're going to talk that shit, Dejanay, and highlight a game, you better come stronger than 7 points, okay? Because you opened up this hornet's nest, and you had Caitlin Clark dropping 37, son, with 10 assists and hitting 8 3-pointers. You glad you woke that up? If you didn't wake her up, you woke up Kelsey Mitchell, who had 30, 23 in the second half alone, also dropping bombs. Indiana made a franchise record 18 threes, excuse me. Listen to this, Greg. Clark recorded her 5th career game with at least 30 points and 10 assists. Somehow, that's a reported WNBA record. That tells you how far we've come, because she's only got 5, and that's an WNBA record in her, 2nd or 3rd season? I mean, Mitchell extended her streak to 23 straight 20-point games. And they all did that without Aaliyah Boston, who was out with the game with an injury. Fever went 3-2 on that road trip, Greg, playing her third game in 4 nights, and still put it on Chicago. And not only did just to rub salt in the wound of old DGD, that put Chicago out of playoffs contention, Greg. Did you update your playoff board for the WNBA yet?
No, I'm going to update the terms of this podcast, though, and I want to state for the record that entire WNBA recap was done against my wishes, under my protest, and shall never happen again. If you want to talk WNBA, David, let's talk about Clay Travis and how he put it out there and what you think about those two. Clay Travis has a couple of things out there. One, he said he's going to start a WNBA team in Nashville that will be made up entirely of transgender players,
yes,
called the Nashville Balls. I like it. But the two is the one that I'm really interested in. He has a $10 million challenge out there to the Las Vegas Aces, the world champs of the WNBA, that if they will go up against a selected 8th grade boys basketball team that he picked, he will offer them $10 million if they win.
8th grade.
Why won't they take that offer, David?
Well, I think we know why they won't take that offer, because of, hence the name of the show, common sense.
But you just spent 3 minutes talking about how good these girls, Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, Sophie
against other girls. Against other girls. Don't get it twisted.
What's a girl, David?
A girl is a female with a who. Boys have penises, girls got vaginas. That's how we're going to throw chromosomes out there. But I said all that because I did watch the game. Except for the times I've clipped back to the Braves, I did watch the majority of that game, and I entertained. And unlike Angel Reese, they made a lot of layups and whatnot. They had a pretty good plays. Now, you're not going to get your dunks and all that, but there's some kind of, I feel like I'm watching, 80s white guy basketball where they're just making layups and making free throws and all their form is perfect. I thought it was entertaining. I mean, you're passing the ball around. Now, Caitlin's pulling up from the logo, but it was entertaining.
I will admit that 15, 20 years ago, when the WNBA was what it's supposed to be, just a losing league that nobody cares about, and it wasn't being forced down my throat, I would from time to time have made the argument back then to go, hey, look, if you're teaching the game of basketball, the WNBA is where you start, not the NBA. It's fundamental. Yeah. It's real basketball. It's basketball the way you're supposed to be played, because it's not just one-on-one athletic matchups like the NBA is. So that brand of basketball can be appreciated if you're a basketball purist and you like the game. But it has become so much more than that now. Like and you know me, dude, I'm the ultimate contrarian. The more you try to force something down my throat, the more I'm inclined to go, hell no, I want no part of that. I never got a shot because of that. I've never watched WNBA because of that. I'm just that guy, man. As soon as you start telling me I have to be a part of something, you lost me.
I enjoyed it. I'm going to be in. I'm ready for the playoffs to start. Now, I can't break down team by team. I'm not there yet. I may get there, but I've been watching the Fever, and I've enjoyed it. But all that to get to Enes Kanter, who's one of the guys that are going to possibly try to put their names into the WNBA draft. He went to the game and had a shirt on that basically defined what a woman was. And I thought that was going to get him thrown out alone. How he got seats so low to the court is beyond me. But they were waiting for anything to throw this guy out. And he didn't help himself any. I forget the player on the Chicago Sky, but she made a bucket, turned around and was yapping at him and cussing at him. And he just kind of walks up more towards the court than I thought he should have. I think it was I like what he stands for, but this was a bit grandstanding. Came up with his hands up and they were jarring back and forth. He gets tossed. So that's going to be one of the stories of the game, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think you bring up what I think can be kind of an interesting topic, because something like this, I think it puts guys like you and I in kind of a unique spot, because on one hand, the Enes Kanter, Royce White thing, like, objectively, I look at it for what it is and go, this is absolute foolishness. This is stupid. Why are we participating in this? But you kind of feel like, oh, shit, we kind of have to support this, because it's come to this point where if we don't start getting on board with this stuff and forcing this stuff to come to a fruition and come to a head, they're just going to keep pushing further and further. So, look, you and I both know Enes Kanter can score 70 a game with 38 rebounds and do whatever he wants in the WNBA if they go that route. We also both know that there is absolutely zero scenario where they open this door and allow this to happen. So at some point, this is going to have to get worked out. They're either going to have to come out and go, you, sir, are a man and therefore cannot play in this league. At which point we should also look at Brittany Griner and go, well, that's a man and should not be playing in this league either.
Well, she claims to be. She actually is on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm like, oh, if you're a man, then why don't you go to the NBA? No, that ain't how it works. It never goes the other way. And there's a reason for that. That's the common sense part. I thought
they tried to make this whole thing with the Little League World Series, and they were trying to make a big deal about, hey, these two girls are and nobody seems to care about it. Yeah, we don't care. If you can play up.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. But men playing with women is like me going to compete with 12-year-olds. It's just not right.
Little League World Series can see that and can understand that, but yet the main pro sports programs can't. I don't like that Enos Cantor and what Royce White are doing. I like it and I don't like it. Obviously, it's a gimmick and it's whatever. But like you said, I feel like we almost have to. You have to force their hand because it is so easy to say have all these rights and like, oh, we believe in trans rights and all that, which, trans rights, human rights. They're still humans. Yes, give them the rights. But that doesn't mean they get to come play in the WNBA. And it's easy for your Megan Rapinos and all that to say like, oh, well, they should have the right. Yeah, because you ain't playing. You ain't playing no more.
And I think we have to get back to a world where, words have to mean something. And there's a big difference between rights and privilege. Nobody has the right to play in the WNBA. It's not a right. I do not have the right to play in the WNBA.
I have the right to play at Augusta National, and I'm going to see what I can do to make that happen.
Like there are privileges and there are rights. Look, we live in a far from perfect society, but from a rights standpoint, equality is pretty straight across the board. There are very few things that any one person has any legal rights to do that another American doesn't have to do. That's just a fact. Now, there are some privileges and there are some blessings, and that's just something you can't handle. Life will never be fair. People will start in different places and end in different places. People will have different paths, different opportunities. That's just life. That's not a right. You don't have the right to do whatever the hell you want.
They're annoying. I mean, for sure, but you need that to force their hand in order to make a decision to make sure this doesn't happen and to protect women's sports so you can enjoy a game like I enjoyed yesterday. And I loved it. I thought it was great. And I would not want to see somebody out there dominating, scoring 100 points, all because they were built different and basically came from a different gender. You can't dictate. They keep saying trans rights and they allow those shirts to be shown. Even the freaking coach can wear that and they don't say nothing. But if you wear a shirt that says, thank you for supporting women, they'll toss your ass out of there, which in a WNBA league, a women's league, is ridiculous. Nobody's asking for rights to be taken away from a trans person. It's just like you said, that don't mean you get the right to do something that you shouldn't.
All right. So we had the discussion a couple episodes ago, kind of just the common sense. You put Megan Rapinoe on one side and Sophie Cunningham on the other side. Who do most normal people gravitate to, right? I mean, we have to get back to some of that. Like there's their side, the side that's telling me all this transgenderism stuff is like normal and natural. Like that's the side that also had a Massachusetts governor that just signed a bill saying you can abort up to birth. So there are times in life where you can simply see who's on a certain side and go, hey, look, I'm just going to assume that if you're on the same side that says I can kill my baby right up until the moment before it's born and that's okay. If you support something else, I'm probably going to assume it's along those same lines and I'm going to naturally be inclined to disagree.
They were cheering, Greg. They were happy to, at what point? I mean, how do you look at this and not say murder at that point? And this is kind of crazy. This is, and I hate to keep coming back to my solo show, but part of what I was talking about today is can you actually admit you were ever wrong about something where you actually one time held a strong opinion and they go, but you know what, as I've had time to think and digest more information, I have changed my mind on something. People don't change their minds much these days. I've changed my mind on that, possibly just with maturity and stuff like that. But there was a time where I would have been kind of on, morally and ethically, I would always say I think abortion's murder, and I do think it's wrong morally and ethically, and I don't think God would ever support it. But I could have made the argument, 10 years ago, hey, look, maybe in the first trimester, maybe up to 8 weeks, 12 weeks, I could kind of find some gray area to say, hey, look, I don't agree with it as a principle, but maybe we can find an area that we can say, look, legally, we can all agree to move forward on this. When you disagree with somebody on anything,
the answer should be, hey, we're probably not going to agree on this, but where can we find somewhere in the middle that we can at least move forward on? Because you're not going to come all here and I'm not going to come all the way up. I could have moved forward with an 8-week, 10-week, 12-week, national abortion law. Hey, look, I don't like it, but I can support that. But this crap will go right up until like right before birth. If you can, like they like to do, if you can use the phrase women's reproductive rights to describe that procedure of killing a 9-month-old baby just because it hasn't exited the womb yet, you and I are not of the same cloth.
Reproductive doesn't mean take away. Last time I checked, it means produce something, right? And what are you producing in this factor? You're taking something away. You're killing a kid at this point, especially at that degree. And I have a bit of a take on abortion rights as well, as far as, if somebody was raped or if somebody was molested or anything like that, and the mom's in jeopardy. I don't want to go out and say I'm for it, but I'm not against it. I mean, I don't like, even though I'm for it. If it's
here's the debate, and I can sum this up. I think I know exactly what you're trying to say because I've wrestled with this forever. You look at the incest, the rape, and on one hand, absolutely, as a human being with any compassion at heart, I go, man, take it as close to home as possible. If my daughter was raped and got pregnant, every part of me would understand that instinct of we are getting out of this situation. But David, I've started asking myself, and again, you know what I've been through on the spiritual journey here lately, and I've asked myself, even in that situation, what would God tell me to do? And there's just no way I can ever come to the final realization that, yeah, God would say, kill that baby. No matter how hard that sounds, I genuinely believe that if I was going upstairs and say, hey, God, what would you have me do in this situation? I think the right answer is you have the baby and put it up for adoption. And I know that's harsh, and I know that sounds like I don't care and like it's callous, but the baby, rape sucks. But the baby doesn't deserve to be killed just because it's a product of bad circumstances.
Man, that's one of those.
But I get that, and that's where you get into from a legal standpoint. I'm perfectly okay if the law says you can have an abortion in those. I'm perfectly okay with it. But I still think and again, I know it sounds simplistic, but if you try to boil everything in your life down to what would God tell me to do right here, I don't think abortion is ever that answer.
Definitely not the answer when you're talking about that late term, and you shouldn't be clapping and having a good old hooting time like you just won the lottery for being able to basically kill a person. But I don't know, that we think different in a lot of ways, and that's one of the ways we look at things differently. But we ended this show on a bad note. Not a bad note, just a different note.
No, I'm gonna take control.
All right. Well, you got anything else you want to cover, Greg? We've covered
sports
and abortion so far. That's quite
I'm gonna get back to a happy note. You threw us off the rails talking about the WNBA, and then we
threw us on the rails. Good show.
Then we ended up talking about abortion.
Carrington, how about that, son? 7 points.
You got a chance to talk about your high school football from over the weekend. I'm gonna close us out on a good note. Talk about my favorite cheerleader of all time, Madison Miller, and her Ace Griffins won Friday night pretty handily after a little weather delay. And then my nephew, who I've spoken about on the show, Eli Fincher, as starting his sophomore year for the North Oconee Titans. I'm going to tell you, man, I bragged on him, and I'm a believer that I think the kid's legit. I think he's a real deal to possibly play at the next level and further. But tell me this, David. How about this for starting as a sophomore defensive end, first touchdown as a pick six from defensive end as a sophomore starter at a legit football factory where they play big boy football. I'm telling you, man, he's the real deal. Couldn't be prouder. Eli, great game, brother. Proud y'all got the win, and I can't wait to keep watching you grow over the next few years. Maddie, I apologize for missing the weather delay. We were in Macon at 7 o'clock, and the game wasn't going to start till 9. And I told her, I said, sweetheart, I'm not sitting around Macon for 2 hours to sit through a rainy football game to watch high school. So I missed that one, but hopefully.
You could have went the new way and got a wiener, son.
I could have. You don't know my wife, though. My wife is not gonna test for a new way wiener.
You'd still be tasting it right now if you did.
My wife don't like wieners.
No, clearly not.
So anyway, I'll end it on a good note. Madison Avery Miller and her Ace Griffins won Friday night. Eli Fincher had a hell of a game for the North Oconee Titans, and they got their big W. So it ain't all bad, man. We don't have to end it on a sour note.
Yeah, well, we will get back to politics because I did enjoy talking that. I try to get a little reprieve for myself and back away from politics, but there's a lot of stuff aggravating me, Greg. Can't admit you're wrong. I was a little bit wrong about some views of your boy Trump, but we'll go save that for the next episode. You can stay tuned. I want to get in some high school sports in that one, but that's it. Episode 52 in the books. Man, we just move right along, my friend, of Common Sense Superheroes. Greg just left us with a good note, but as always, he's going to leave us with another good note. Greg, what you got for us?
All right, guys, if we hadn't offended you and made you leave yet and you're still paying attention, throw us a like, share it. Y'all get on social media and harass David because nothing makes me happier than to see him catching shit online. So y'all please do that for me. And after you do that, remember what we always do here. Get in your Bible, say your prayers, love one another, and tell the truth.
And go cheer for my Indiana Fever, baby. Woo woo.